state of Minnesota alone. And that's just for 1 month. Anybody else bothered by that? Minnesota is the only state that has set up the basic health program, although New York is taking steps in that direction. If states opt in, the federal government would cover 95% of the subsidies that enrollees would have otherwise collected in the marketplaces, although it's not allowed to cover administrative costs. Aides said that only recently discovered how the administration was funding Minnesota's program through looking at the state's first quarter payments this year. Now, prodded by Roscoe at a hearing this past Wednesday, Burwell acknowledged that the basic health program payments are coming out of the IRS fund, but said, quote, tax credits for programs aren't part of the discretionary funding that must be approved by Congress. Did you get that? They're trying to claim that this is discretionary spending. They're trying to say that this is money that's just available by virtue of the authority of the budget, of which they haven't had a budget in some time, not one that was passed and signed into law at any rate. Effectively, they're taking money that's set aside for one thing, and that's tax credits, therefore tax refunds, your dollars that should be coming back to you. They're taking that money and they're essentially stealing it because that's not what it's for. And they're using it to send all of one state at this point. As other states sign up for this basic health program, other states will then have access to it as well. If, let's say, the total number of states that opted into the program got up to around 36 or so, how much money would be left for tax credits? How deep is this going to have to cut into the annual H&R Block run for folks that do nothing but collect more money than they paid in? You know, the people that are on the lower end of the economic spectrum in the country, the people that typically tend to support Democratic ideas, who typically probably believe Obamacare is helping them because the media tells them it is, because Democrats office holders tell them it is, whether they've actually seen any benefit from it or not. How deep does it have to cut into their pockets before those folks are going to realize, hey, you know what? These guys have been lying to us. I'm thinking you keep messing with these folks' tax credits, and that's going to be something that will, in fact, do the trick. But ultimately, what we're seeing is, again, another complete and total disobeyment of the Constitution. The United States House has the power of the purse. The United States House of Representatives has the ability to defund anything because they can say, we're not going to authorize funds for it. The administration does not have any legal authority whatsoever to go back and try to change that. They don't have the legal authority to take money from something else that has been granted, authorized, funded. They don't have the power to take any of that money from one of those programs to go back and pay for a program that has not been authorized, has not been funded. It is unconstitutional. It is illegal. It is, in fact, criminal So who in the House is going to stand up and lead the charge to try and put a full end to this unconstitutional behavior, this unconstitutional actions? Who's going to do it? Is Boehner going to do it? I doubt it. Haven't seen anything from Mr. John Boehner over the course of the last 2 years to make me believe he has any intentions of doing anything to challenge the Obama administration. Since they stood up and had their little government shut down that didn't shut down anything but some parks that didn't have to be closed, he's been hiding in his shadow, afraid somebody is going to blame the Republicans for closing down the government. Which, by the way, just FYI, for all the folks living out in flyover country, unless we worked for a national park, we probably didn't even notice that shutdown. So if you're worried about getting blamed for something, how about you worry about how history is going to record you? You're going to be hoping that you'll just be another one of those forgotten speakers of the House. Please forget me, history. I did nothing of value. I don't want to be remembered as a person who had to take blame for not stepping up and protecting the Constitution, for not stepping up and protecting the American people, for not doing my job. You know, the job I asked for, the job I begged for, the job I raised millions of dollars to campaign for. Nope, don't want you to remember I didn't do that. I want you to remember some nice speeches I gave, and that's about the extent of it. Alright, going to take another quick break right now, and then after said break, we're going to get into the main topic, that of course being the Pope said what? Just in case you didn't hear it, it's a doozy, you're going to like it, and if you have already heard it, stay with me anyway. You might want to hear what I have to say, or you might just want to make fun of me. Either way, I will be right back. Stay with me.
Turned out that I really don't know how to have love, how to let love go. Fell into a really bad place, saying what we can so that we feel safe. Woke up on the floor. Time begs for more. She says I'm jaded, but I would hate it if she thought any other way.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thanks for staying with us through the break. With you as always, I am your ever so humble host, Tim Tapp, coming to you live from historic Roane County, Tennessee. I hope you are enjoying the show to this point. I want to thank everybody who's been listening to the shows lately. Show's numbers have really been blowing up the last several weeks. For the last almost 2.5 months now. Across all of the different venues where you can find the show, all the different channels, rather directly right here on Spreaker or directly at BTR or at Stitcher.com, at iTunes, tuned in to a lesser extent over at YouTube. Been a lot of downloads, a lot of listens, a lot of plays, and we've had a few broadcasts that have even broke the 1 million play mark within the first week of the show being up. And you know, that to me it's a big deal, and I feel really, really glad to be part of something that this many people are actually listening to or playing enough that we get to those levels. It's mostly been on Stitcher and iTunes, with actually YouTube, with this version of the show, coming in pretty close behind that. And considering that don't really have the BTR show hooked up to YouTube afterwards. It's pretty much just the Spreaker version of the show that plays over there. It's just absolutely amazing to me. So again, thanks to all you guys that are listening to the show, listening to the broadcast. Thanks for sharing the show with your friends, because obviously that's happening to some extent. The show is growing. The audience is growing. I can tell by the social media interactions we're having that more and more people are following us on Facebook, that are following us on Twitter. And you know, it's amazing to me to go from a few plays a week and then a few weeks down the road, the show's eventually getting into the hundreds, which is of course where it started, to now within the first couple of days usually there's several thousand, and now we are literally getting broadcasts of individual shows that are getting over 1 million plays within a week's time. That still may not be huge numbers compared to other podcasts and other shows that are being broadcast here. There's some folks that are absolutely knocking it out of the park. I'm still not even in their league yet as far as that type of audience. I know that, but I'm going to celebrate the victories here. I'm not going to stay focused on the negative. I mean, I would love to keep moving the show forward, getting more people in as you get to know me and so on and so forth. That's still awesome to me, though, that we're hitting those numbers, because that's something that, I don't know, 12 months ago, I wouldn't have even thought it would be possible to be getting that many weekly plays, just based on what the history had been to that point. But the show is growing, the audience is growing, and, you know, thank you guys. I appreciate it. While I also have your attention, we're not talking about the story just yet. I also would like to go ahead and mention the fact that the bumper music that you hear during the breaks, provided via Magnatune. If you're a podcaster or you're thinking about podcasting and you're looking for podcast-safe music, they're worth taking a look at. A small fee, make sure that these independent artists get their cash. You know, I mean, they're getting paid, they're getting the reward for producing the music. But I love the fact that these are independent artists, and I've said a multitude of times, kind of feel like a kindred spirit, because I'm doing this show independently, you know, putting out my own cash, because I don't have any sponsors at this point. Just me, myself, and I. Made a few friends, got some friends to the show, got some associations with some other groups, but no true sponsors at this point. I would love to some point, if I ever get enough time from my other job and from family life, to build up some sponsorships and update the equipment and upgrade and start running a few commercials here and there, as long as they're, as long as they're companies that are, or organizations that are like-minded, and I don't feel like I would be compromising any principles in promoting them on the broadcast. That would be great. I would love to be able to turn this into a 5 or even 6 day a week gig, and take care of business, really carry the torch. That would be awesome. But until then, I'm doing the best I can on the budget I've got, and I'm going to continue to be a voice, hopefully of reason and sanity, although there are going to be some times that I'm going to be so angry and so infuriated that I'll probably lose my cool and say some things on here I shouldn't. But that's typically not me. I'm not a bomb thrower for the most part, and I don't typically completely lose it on the air. So don't think I'm going to be overly offensive to anyone. I think I'm still going to be able to communicate with people. But that's just me. And let's skip that. Let's get back to the show, shall we? I know that's not what you tune into this show to hear. So I will stop with that, and we will move forward. Here's the big thing. Just in case you didn't hear this, Pope Francis says that you're not Christian if you support gun manufacturers. He did. He said that. Now, here